All right, so I was cut off at the point where we were talking about the communication of acceptance and the fact that the UCC does require the communication of acceptance in some cases where it wouldn't be, right? That's the unilateral contract situation. The next piece is we need to revisit what happens to the mirror image rule in this situation. So if you recall the mirror image rule, it requires that an acceptance must match precisely the terms of the offer. All right, and this is actually still the case with regard to the UCC in the case where one or both of those parties is a non-merchant. But here is one of those cases where the status of being a merchant will impact the outcome or the way that this is analyzed, because the UCC effectively dispenses with the mirror image rule under UCC 2-207 in those cases where the parties are merchants. So for example, typically if I offer to sell you 10 Samsung Galaxy S2 phones for a certain price, right? And you accept it, but you change it to S3 phones, right? In the case where one or both of those parties is a non-merchant, there is no contract form in the case of that acceptance, right? That would function more like a counteroffer. This does not necessarily apply in the case where the parties are merchants, because unless one of those parties objects, right, those additional terms may actually be incorporated into the contract itself. Under UCC 2-207, again, sub 2, right, in contracts that are between merchants, meaning that both parties have merchant status, right, if three conditions are met, then the contract is effectively formed and includes additional terms automatically, right? So first, the original offer expresses, first, the thing that would defeat this is if the original offer limits the terms of acceptance to its terms. Then the mirror image rule applies by the terms of the offer, right? The new or changed terms materially alter the contract is the second term. So if there's a material alteration to that contract, the new terms won't be included. The offeror objects to the new or changed terms within a reasonable amount of time. Under those three conditions, the UCC will not see the formation of a contract with that attempted acceptance. It would be, again, more like a counteroffer. So the way that they actually get to this result in practice is interesting. It's illustrated in case 19.2, which is C. Mahindra LLC versus National Gold and Diamond Center. So this is regarding a jeweler and a jeweler supplier. And the way that the UCC views it is that merchants frequently, we note that the reason that it's like this is because merchants frequently include terms that are in addition to those that are discussed when they send forms that confirm or offers, and so there may be a back and forth process where the parties are sending forms, right? So because merchants typically do this and include terms that are not discussed by the other side, UCC 2-207 basically provides that the additional terms are to be construed as proposals for addition to the contract, right? But, right, between merchants, right, the additional terms are incorporated, right, unless those three conditions that we discussed occur. And the first one was that the offer expressly limited its terms, which in the Mahindra case it did not. Second, the new or changed terms materially alter the contract. We'll come back to that one. And then third, the offeror objects, right, within a reasonable amount of time. Now, here, the forum selection clause in the Mahindra case was subjected to the second prong of that UCC 2-207 test. And so here, during telephone discussions, the parties negotiated the essential terms required for contract formation, and the invoices were merely confirmatory. Thus, the forum selection clause is an additional term that materially altered, quote unquote, the parties' oral contracts, and defendants did not give its consent to that material additional term. All right. So again, unless that term is material or one of the other two prongs are met, if the contract is between merchants, then additional terms may be included in that contract with its acceptance. I would also note that this does not apply under UCC 2207 sub 1, the first portion of that provision, if or in the case where the form explicitly conditions the contract on assent to the additional terms. Because then what has the merchant done? He has basically provided an explicit counteroffer. It says, I'm not going to do the deal unless you explicitly agree to X, Y, and Z. Right? Another option under UCC 2-207, which deals with these conflicting terms, simply allows that the court may choose to strike the terms of the additional terms, right? And this may in part be based upon the prior dealings of the parties with one another within this contract or without. Other deals in the past, and that is the case in case 19.2, C. Mahindra. So in the case as with Mahindra, right, where the forum selection was being stricken, right, but the parties by their behavior have acted under what they presume to be a contract, then what happens there is instead of that acceptance not being